Caitlin Clark could be returning this week after all, and the ripple effect across the WNBA is already impossible to ignore. Breaking news straight out of Indiana. The Fever just made a roster move that has fans buzzing, rivals nervous, and insiders connecting every possible dot back to one name, Caitlin Clark. That's right. After weeks of silence, endless theories, and mounting frustration, there's now a roster shakeup that looks less like a coincidence and more like the first domino falling in her long-awaited comeback. And let's be real, if Clark gets back, it's going to be scary, because with the ball in her hands, or even just pulling attention off the ball, she changes everything. Defenders panic, screens become weapons, post players suddenly look unstoppable. The ceiling for the Fever's offense goes from limited to limitless, all because of her gravitational pull. And just like that, Caitlin Clark's name is back in the spotlight. Fans are losing their minds wondering what this really means. Could this finally be the sign that she's about to step back onto the court? According to the WNBA transactions page, the Indiana Fever just released Kyra Lambert. For most casual fans, that's a throwaway headline buried in the sports ticker. But for diehards, this is a bombshell. You don't cut a player mid-season, unless you're making room for something bigger. And when you strip away the noise, there's only one conclusion that makes sense. That open roster spot is practically glowing with Caitlin Clark's name on it. The release itself was cold. No thank you post, no fanfare, nothing. Just gone. That tells you everything you need to know. Indiana wasn't clearing space for depth. They were clearing space for a star. And let's not sugarcoat it. Every single game Clark has missed has felt heavier than the last. She didn't even travel with the team last week, which sent speculation into overdrive. So the big question becomes, is this the cautious long game, or has Indiana been quietly prepping for her comeback all along? Fans, of course, wasted no time turning the transaction into a full-blown conspiracy theory factory. Some claim this means the Fever are secretly bringing in Kennedy Carter, even though she literally just signed elsewhere. Others say it's about Sophie Cunningham's injury, that Indiana is hiding how bad it really is. But when you cut through the chatter and look at the timing, the signs all point to Clark. Think about it. Lambert barely played 1 minute in 2 games. She wasn't a rotation piece, not even a key bench body. She was filler, a warm body for practice. The Fever could have let her go weeks ago. Why now? Why right before a brutal stretch of games against Minnesota and Seattle? Because Indiana knows they're out of time. They've clawed their way up to 6th in the standings. Impressive given how banged up they've been. But without Caitlin, they won't survive what's coming. Minnesota is steamrolling the league with a 28-5 record. Seattle's hungry. Phoenix is pushing. And every night without her makes the Fever's playoff window smaller. Clark's return isn't just a boost. It's the only path forward. Now, here's where things get even more intense. Scott Agnes, the Fever's beat reporter, chimed in on YouTube, replying to a fan that Clark was still several weeks away. But insiders have been whispering a different story, that she's been back in live practices, that she's sharper than people think, and that late August has always been the target. So who do you believe? The cautious beat writer or the insiders reading between the lines? Fans don't care. They're treating every update like gospel. And that's what makes this situation wild. Because if Indiana actually throws Clark back onto the floor against Minnesota, that's baptism by fire. The Lynx aren't just good, they're merciless. Do you really want Caitlin's first minutes back to come against a juggernaut? Logic says no, but desperation doesn't care about logic. Indiana might just gamble everything on the hope that she can survive the storm and give them a shot at a miracle, and that's the tightrope. Bring her back too soon, and she risks aggravating the groin injury that's already derailed her season. Wait too long, and Indiana's playoff hopes evaporate. Fans are checking social feeds like addicts, refreshing Scott Agnes' page, scanning for crumbs. And the silence from the Fever only makes the speculation worse. Because silence in this league always means one of two things. Either bad news is coming, or a bombshell announcement is about to drop. Here's the bigger truth though. Caitlin Clark isn't just a player anymore. She's the storyline of the WNBA. She misses a game, it's headline news. She takes a hard foul, it sparks national debates. She comes back, it's treated like a historic event. Indiana knows this. The league knows this. Which is why cutting Lambert feels less like a minor roster move and more like the first drumbeat of the comeback symphony. The reality is the Fever don't function without her. And the league doesn't shine as bright when she's missing. Indiana, without Caitlin Clark, is just another mid-tier team. With her, suddenly ESPN cameras are everywhere, highlights trend globally, and every ticket in the arena sells out. That's why the Fever made this move now. They can't afford to stall anymore. The schedule is too brutal. The stakes are too high. And the league itself is starving for a story to what happens next? If Clark returns this week, the Fever instantly become dangerous again. Defenses will collapse, spacing will open, role players will look better because they're no longer forced into roles they can't handle. And the league, well, they'll milk her return for everything it's worth. TV specials, endless debate shows, merch promotions, highlight reels on repeat. And that's the bittersweet part. Because while this is great for business, it also exposes how dependent the WNBA has become on one player. Every decision, every headline, every rating spike feels tied to her. But love her or hate her, Caitlin Clark is the only name that moves the needle like this. Which means when Indiana clears a roster spot, everyone knows who it's for. Fever fans are already celebrating. Theories are running wild. Social media is exploding. And rivals are circling dates on their calendars, bracing for impact. Because when Clark walks back onto that court, the entire league changes overnight. So yes, Indiana just released Kyra Lambert. On the surface, that's a small move. But in reality, it's the loudest signal yet that Caitlin Clark is coming back. And when she does, don't expect a quiet return. Expect fireworks. Expect sold-out arenas. Expect every team in the WNBA to adjust their strategy on the fly. Because Caitlin Clark's comeback isn't just about her. It's about survival for Indiana, momentum for the league, and the reminder that in sports, sometimes one player really can change everything.